The future is always ahead of us, and more companies are trying their damnedest to turn the world into the sci-fi paradise that the world was promised to have by now, several decades ago. And a company now has popped up claiming that they'll be creating an electric train powered by Veillance Flux that will be able to travel as fast as 620 miles per hour, greatly reducing the time it takes to get from one part of the country to the next. But is there any truth to this? What is Veillance Flux anyway? We'll be letting you know all the details as the video progresses, so be sure to stick around till the end. Let's get started. Seriously? 620 miles per hour? How could any vehicle cover that kind of speed? Well, actually, we've already gone and fibbed a little there. Sorry about that. 1,000 apologies. Please forgive us for this grave miscalculation. See, the actual purported speed is said to be 621 miles per hour. Ah, headlines do so love to round up to nicer looking numbers, eh? Okay, in this case, it hardly makes such difference, but regardless, isn't that a crazy speed for a train to be hitting? But that's the claim being made by the French and Canadian company. Can a company be French-Canadian by birth? Known as TransPod. And I, for one, am glad that the pod has finally come out. TransPod claims to already be working on an innovation known as the FluxJet, which they call a combination of a plane and a train, though it looks much more like the latter than the former. This is what many call a maglev train, maglev being short for magnetic levitation. It traveled through a vacuum tube with contactless power delivery. They say it will be able to carry 54 passengers or 10 tons of cargo, again, at the speed of 621 miles per hour. For the benefit of those who are unfamiliar with the imperial system, 621 miles is akin to roughly 1,000 kilometers. And to loop the reference point right back around to those stateside, 1,000 kilometers is about the distance of a typical route between Manhattan, New York, and Detroit, Michigan. Taking a road trip of that length is estimated to take about 10 hours, assuming no breaks. But the FluxJet theoretically could cover that in just 60 minutes. Of course, the speed we keep harping on is the top speed. The little demonstrational video they've made about this shows that it will be slowing down and speeding up depending on the area that is currently in. So it wouldn't be at 621 miles per hour the entire trip. Still, it'd be fast enough to save a lot of time. The company's first proposed vacuum tube would connect Calgary to Edmonton, and the plan is to make that trip take 45 minutes. That'd be a far sight better than the 4-hour route by car that Google Maps suggests. And they'll do it all with Veillance Flux. Hold on, what on earth is Veillance Flux? What does that even mean? Well, I'm glad you asked, because you see, nobody knows. That's one of the things that people tend to laugh at about this proposal. It's honestly quite vague, and the term Veillance Flux seems to be a bit of an exciting sounding buzzword that they came up with to try and make the FluxJet sound cool and futuristic. But giving them the benefit of the doubt, the video does seem to try and show it in action and mentions its use in automatic repositioning. The word Veillance is French and said to meaning something like watching, and of course Flux essentially just implies a flowing movement. Given that and the way that it's used in the video, Veillance Flux seems to refer to a detection software they've made, a sonar that will sense the walls of the vacuum tube and keep the train in place, moving safely but quickly without ever hitting the tube. That would be a pretty important thing to nail down, after all, especially because a tube system this long probably would have to make some twists and turns. It'd be impractical to try and clear a proper straight line with that kind of distance when you're going from one heavily populated city to another. Isn't this familiar? Didn't Elon Musk come up with something like this? Indeed, you're right. The term you're looking for is Hyperloop, essentially a super rail system, dating back to alpha papers put together by Elon Musk way back in 2013. Though the technology has a lot in common with past back trains, the Hyperloop was actually claiming an even faster top speed, boasting that it could go up to 730 miles per hour. That would come out to be about 1,175 kilometers covered in about an hour's span. The Virgin Hyperloop 1 has long been proposed to be set up to travel between Los Angeles and San Francisco, with the idea being that it'd be a 35-minute trip. It sounds funny to talk about something this grandiose, traveling from one part of a state to another, but it really goes to show how long California is. A drive from one end to the other, as would be the case here, would be 6 hours normally. That's about the same amount of time that it's taken to drive from London to Paris. Test drives in the past have shown the pod reaching 100 miles per hour in short bursts, but the tech still felt like it was a long ways away from its ambitious vision, and despite years of hype, it's still yet to get very far off the ground. And that's an Elon Musk project, so it's not like there's a big shortage of funds there. Ah well, this is different. Elon may have billions of dollars, but he doesn't have Veillance Flux. What is this company anyway? Has TransPod ever done anything like this to date? Nah, it's a startup. As far as we can tell, this is the first thing that the TransPod company has ever tried to do. It is thus far their entire identity. The name is obviously a take on the word transport, but it's gonna be transportation done while sitting in a little pod. So, TransPod honestly feels like they just went with the very first name they came up with, didn't it? But hey, it's simple and it's snappy and easy to understand. They are among many other startups that have tried to break ground on a similar idea. Business springing out of the woodwork to try to have a hand in the Hyperloop idea before it even gets off the ground. These would be the US-based Virgin Hyperloop and Hyperloop Transportation Technologies, Heart BV in the Netherlands, and Zelleros in Spain. Suffice it to say, there's a lot of people out there trying their hardest to turn this very cool idea into a very cool reality. But of course, as you can maybe tell by the fact that the world is not already making frequent use of such systems, it still hasn't happened yet, nor did any of them seem particularly close to a breakthrough. So is this thing legit? Are we really gonna have this technology? Well, the optimist in me wants to say yes, Yes, one day technology will likely advance to the point that something like this becomes the norm, and the physical world will feel much closer than it has ever before. It's certainly a funny pipe dream, pun very much intended, to imagine a tube that we can pay a few bucks to enter and zip all around a country in the same time frame it'd take a car to drive across 50 miles. There'd be a heck of a lot more tourists going out to see the world in such a future. Maybe it'd even be the thing that get people away from their smartphones, just for a little while. Who am I kidding? Obviously you take them with you so you can snap pictures of the locales and post them on your social media. It'd be great if such a thing started popping up in the next few years or so, but the realist in me can't help but see it's very unlikely to come to fruition, even though they've gotten an impressive bit of funding so far, raising $550 million from British and Chinese investors. The reality is they're long ways away from being able to make the first vacuum tunnel. According to CNBC, the estimated cost for their planned Edmonton-Calgary connection would be around $18 billion, so that's a lot. Nonetheless, TransPod has been telling everyone that they want to begin construction on this first intercity FluxJet line by 2027. So they've just got about $15.5 billion to drum up in the next 5 years. Easy! How hard could it be? Yeah, prospects aren't looking great. Fun to dream though. And that is all the time we've had for today's video. Are you hopeful for the future of the FluxJet or any of the other proposed systems that promise hyper-fast travel? Or are you a big old Debbie Downer about the whole concept? It's perfectly understandable if so. The technology is technically there, but it's seemingly a long ways away before being practically feasible. It sure is exciting to think about though. Do you think we'll really be able to make trips like this in such a quick span of time in our lifetimes? Be sure to let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And until next time, thanks for watching.